pass to Johnson. Johnson still going. Dummies again. Johnson into the wonder Brown. Brown goes in to score.
Oh, he's serving it down the touchline. Oh, this is unbelievable. They're gonna win it. Oh, what scenes here, what scenes. LeBron James, a shot in history. LeBron stands alone. The NBA's all-time scoring record now belongs to LeBron James.
All right, what's good? Welcome back to another episode of STS, the second to last one for the year. Of course, remember next week, bit of a Q&A special as well as anything that has happened over the week of sports. I'll chuck up the question box on my Instagram and social media next week, early doors. Fire your questions through. Would love to hear from you. It doesn't have to be sport related. Of course, we'll get plenty about the NRL and the Warriors, and I look forward to those, but also just life related. Been a big year for Surly, so would love to hear from you guys. Questions you want me to tuck into for next week's finale for the 2025 podcast. Yeah, a bit of a punchier episode today, short and sharp. Few things going on in the world of sports, so there are still some great talking points there. I am moving house tomorrow though, on Friday, so a lot going on in my life at the moment, so we're just going to bang this one out. Of course, Bowls Day on Saturday too, so plenty on the plate. Still going to tuck into that R360 news of that being delayed until 2028. Looks like Nelson Asofa-Solomona has a new job. Shout out to him. Rugby World Cup draw 2027, that's going down. At time of recording, it hasn't been announced. You guys listening now will know the draw. Fingers crossed, All Blacks got a good pool there. Of course, double wins for our 7 sides in Dubai to kick off their campaigns. Liam Lawson locked in for 2026 as the lead driver at Racing Bulls as the 2025 F1 season goes right down to the wire. Skin of sack stuff between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. Plus, we have Test cricket underway here in NZ and Test 2 of the Ashes. Love me some 5-day oval ball action, so we'll dive into that as well. Also, Chasing the Fox goes down next week, and to celebrate that, I've got 2 double passes to give away. So basically, what you got to do to get yourself in the mixer is comment on Spotify on this episode or comment on YouTube on this episode and just say who you want to win Chasing the Fox, what team you'll be backing, whether it's the defending champs Team Media, maybe Team Warriors, SJ Wade Egan and Chanel Harris-Tavita, they've won your heart, Team Classic All Blacks, Team All Whites, Team Black Caps, the Manuka Doctor Legends, they got Michael Campbell, Eric Murray, Carlos Olberg, keen to see how he goes swinging the sticks, and you got some genuine golfers and Team Voke, and of course, Team Fox with Dan Hillier and Ryan Fox in the mix. They are going to be incredibly hard to beat as a duo. But yeah, if you want to get in to win 1 or 2 of those double passes, GA tickets, Chasing the Fox next Friday, then simply comment on this Spotify episode or on the YouTube which team you want to win Chasing the Fox. I'll chuck everyone that comments in a random name generator, and then winners get 2 double passes to Chasing the Fox. How bloody good. It is that easy. But without further ado, let's get into it and kick off the old sporting chat. How bloody good. Big nasty Nelson Asofa-Solomona, believed to be turning his focus to professional boxing. How good is this? Look, I did not see this coming, but to be honest, I'm pretty excited about it. Apparently, he's turned down approaches from the NRL and the Super League. They think up to 7 offers were made to try and get the big Kiwi services, but instead he's decided to take up a full-time deal in boxing. Of course, Melbourne Storm won championships with them, been with the Kiwis in this campaign too, so I truly believe he would have been highly sought after. If you believe the rumours, the Warriors were in the mix. I think Para, Jason Riles, the Perth Bears, certainly interested. R360, we'll talk more on that shortly, but they were believed to have made an offer for the big fella as well. And then Super League, that makes sense 100%, but instead 2 meters tall, 115 kilos, he has decided that the world of heavyweight boxing is for him, and he's come out and he said he wants to win a title. Australasian, probably the target. I'm not thinking world, but good on him, to be honest. He's already smoked Jared Wallace back in 2023, knocked him out, made light work, and then of course 2019 absolutely flogged some bloke outside a nightclub in Bali. If you haven't seen the videos of that, go check them out. He can throw hands, man. Big, powerful, aggressive, clearly loves to get stuck in and get amongst it. So I'm keen to see how far he can go. Like, when you think about it, easy to knock him. Last player who did something like this, Tavita Pangai Jr., last active NRL player who retired to chase a full boxing career, but I 100% think he's going to do a better job of it than Tavita Pangai. I think Nelson will go all right. When you look at the money Paul Gallen's made post-career in these pay-per-view fights over in Australia, where you can fight guys pretty similar experience level to you and walk away with massive paydays, I think Nelson is going to clean up, And if I was him, I would get through 1 or 2 fights, hope Jake Paul gets knocked the fuck out by Anthony Joshua, and then just make an outrageous call out. I reckon Jake Paul would be interested purely around the marketability. Like, Nelson, big lad, tatted up, throws hands, ex-professional sports player, or current professional sportsman, really. Like, that would put bums on seats, especially in this part of the world, and you might walk away with, 20, 30 million at least. That would be a huge payday for him, but supposedly he already has a fight lined up against a current big-name NRL player, so I'll be keen to see who that is too. You'd have to think that'll be happening shortly, as it's NRL off-season. Junior Bolo, a name which pops up because he's done some damage in the ring before, of course played for Samoa, so he'll have that extended pre-season, but yeah, really interested to see who that player is. 100% I'll be booking that fight, and to be honest, I'll probably be booking most of Nelly from Welly's fights. Yeah, I'll be an interested spectator 100%, and good on the bloke mixing it up. I still reckon, though, his end play is R360, and with that announcement that it's been delayed, he's just buying time here, doing little side quests, making bank, something he's probably always wanted to do, and then he'll go to R360 once that comp is good to go. And on that, of course, R360 came out, delayed until 2028, and part of me is not 100% sure that this competition gets off the ground, to be honest, but it does make sense to push it post-World Cup in their defence, and I reckon they'll have a much better chance then of landing some bigger names from the rugby scene. Of course, Paps and Zac Lomax were rumoured to be going there. RTS offers were made, but it was said that he was going to pull pin due to the uncertainty. Maybe that 2028 window now appeals a shit ton more to him. They were making plays for Payne Haas. That didn't look like it was going to eventuate, but again, 2028 might pull on his heartstrings too, post-Rugby League World Cup, and he might have won another ring by then. But yeah, to me, this makes a whole lot more sense. You get the 2026 Rugby League World Cup out the way. You also get the 2027 Rugby World Cup out of the way. And to be fair, that was the weirdest thing about this R360 thing for me, is that no real big-name rugby players have been announced. So now they're going to have an open slather, really. When you think about it, guys like Bodie, who will be massive names and massive gets for that competition, they will be up for this 100%, you'd have to think, especially if you're offering crazy money for them. Plus, first year of a Rugby World Cup cycle, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see some younger guys too, just taking a 1 to 2 year deal in R360, getting paid a couple mil, then coming back 2 or 3 years before the next World Cup, establishing themselves back on the international scene, and then they'll qualify for that competition. So I think this is a great play from R360. It is not a good look, though, pretty embarrassing, just to basically come out and say that we're not ready to launch. It has to be due to a lack of talent, lack of signed players, although they're still claiming they had 200 players signed. I think the big one as well, no TV rights deal, and perhaps they were struggling in that department. Like, there's only so long you can pour endless amount of money in before things produce a massive loss, and then investors pull pin no matter how rich they are. But yeah, really keen to see how this all develops for sure. Personally, I do hope it does get off the ground. It was cool to talk about it while it was happening, with what players might play there and things like that. Geez, did it get tongues wagging? Certainly got the attention of the media. The NRL, Volandis, came out with that 10-year ban. Of course, footy fans from both codes, we were talking about it constantly. So in a way, they did achieve part of their goal, I guess, in promoting the competition and making it a household name. And now all eyes turn to 2028, where I'll be incredibly interested to see if it does kick off. In terms of Zac Lomax, he's the biggest one that's popped up post this announcement of the delay in terms of what does he do now. And Yeah, personally, I was thinking Japanese rugby, cash in and just buy time till R360. He could then probably qualify for the Wallabies as well and chase that 2027 Rugby World Cup. But apparently, it's come out over the last couple days that he's spent the last few days this week with the Western Force touring their facilities in Perth. So perhaps he's eyeing up a gig in Super Rugby, of course. That would certainly throw him in the Wallabies mixer for 2027. You play that World Cup and then you go across to R360 and you're a genuine rugby player then. Fuck, the Wallabies would take him in a heartbeat. What an aerial threat for them to have on their wing. He's a talented player. He'll probably come out and say he wants to play centre, and to be honest, he probably could as well, because he is that good, really. But look, I'd love to see him at the Western Force. I wasn't sure Super Rugby would be a real carrot of attraction for him, especially at the Force, Aussie's worst Super Rugby side, but it looks like he's genuinely interested. Of course, he could be in Perth as well talking to the Bears, although the fact that Parramatta have first rights to them and they would have to sign him off for playing for any other NRL club leads me to believe that the Perth Bears probably not in the convo at the moment unless they paid Para a massive transfer fee. In all honesty too, I reckon Parramatta would be pretty happy to wash their hands with them after what's gone on over the last month, so maybe a fat little paycheck and he could end up at the Perth Bears as well. But yeah, certainly seems like Rugby World Cup 2027 could well be the goal for him now, and then R360 2028 if it does happen. In terms of Pappenhausen, apparently he genuinely wanted some time off. People rumouring he will be back in the NRL though. Must be going through a few things off field, maybe wants a bit of time to himself. But yeah, whenever you talk NRL, the teams that pop up seem to be Sydney based, of course, where he's from. Dragons, Sharks, Para and Dogs, those seem to be the big four. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out too. He could be another one, Perth Bears, and he's been released, so he's on the open market if he does have aspirations of playing pro sport next year. Volandis, he's come out as well and said that both guys would be welcome back. So yeah, watch this space around both of them. Two incredible talents that I'm sure most teams in the competition would love to have on their roster. Speaking of incredible talents on the move, Ruben Garrick, believed to have signed with the Roosters from 2027, that salary cap sombrero that they operate down there. Looks like it's lured in another target, of course. Ruben Garrick, very good player. Winger, goal kicker, centre as well, scores points for fun, good looking, been ripping up on the northern beaches in Manly, and now it looks like he's following his good mate DCE to the Chooks, no doubt for a big money offer. It said Manly offered him 1.1 a year in extension, which is a lot of coin too, in particular if you're going to play him on the wing. But yeah, Roosters have obviously topped that, probably a couple of third parties as well from old mate Nick Politis, maybe a house with a nice deck, a bit of a jetty out onto the water, whatever he wants. I'm sure Politis could make it happen, but this would be a massive signing for the Roosters as well. So well done to them if they've pulled that off. And I must be honest, like, I hate the Chooks, but seeing Ruben Garrick in those colours would be pretty cool. And geez, they have a roster, man, in amongst guys like Nafahu White and co, chucking in a Reece Robson, a DCE, and then a Ruben Garrick. Fuck, they would be deadly. It would make sense too. Daniel Tupou off contract end of next year, believed to be retiring. So Garrick comes in, takes his money, takes his spot, and it's happy days from there. In terms of young halves for Canberra, Cody Black, he's been released to the Raiders effective immediately, leaving the Broncos after they signed Jonah Pezzett for 2027. He decided that he wanted out, and this is going to be an exciting watch for me. Like, there's a genuine shootout now in the halves at Canberra to partner Ethan Strange. They have young Ethan Sanders and then this young superstar and Cody Black, both extremely high rated from experts around Australia. They could roll with an Ethan and Ethan duo, Strange and Sanders. That rolls off the tongue, and surely there's some synergy in that Ricky Stewart might lean towards. Otherwise, they could go Strange and Black. That sounds like a duo of Harry Potter, a couple rogue professors, but yeah, that would be an exciting partnership too. Either way, it looks like they'll be all right post-Fogarty, and I'm really keen to see if these two players are as good as they're hyped, because if you listen to all the talk, Cody Black in particular, like Queensland Junior Origin player, been ripping up in Q Cup for the Bears. So, yeah, interested to watch him a bit more play NRL footy. Bloody good stuff. Perth Bears, they've signed Toby Sexton and a couple other fringies. New Balance have jumped on as their sponsor as well, but I'm still incredibly worried for them, if I'm honest. And then also, final piece of NRL news, it is believed that the findings from the investigation into the head knock suffered by Ali Katoa are set to be released to the public on Friday at the latest. The Sydney Morning Herald is reporting that the several medical staff who cleared Ali Katoa to play after he copped that sickening head knock in the warm-up, and then a couple more during the game, they're going to receive heavy sanctions. Of course, Katoa sitting out the whole 2026 NRL season, so interested to see how hard they come down on them. Life bans, that's the requirement for me, but watch this space. Rugby Union and, of course, Rugby World Cup draw. Massive news. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it because it's happening overnight. By the time you're listening to this, though, you will know the draws and the pool play, so sorry, can't add much chat around that, but let's hope the footy gods are kind to us and we can get a good run into finals footy. Opposite side of the draw to South Africa would be extremely nice. Like, to me, them and England, the two teams you want to avoid. Then us, France, Ireland, Argentina probably. We're all at a similar level. There's some dangerous teams in that second bracket, though, that could end up in our pool. Australia and Scotland. Australia, not so scary, but it is a home World Cup, so I expect them to lift for that. Scotland, pretty dangerous. So let's see. But yeah, hopefully opposite side of the draw to South Africa. A nice little run through. Shit are we due to win a World Cup? 2015, our last dub, so let's go, lads. We need to go the big lift, and let's hope the draw is kind to us. Shout out to the Sevens teams as well. They do the double in Dubai. A new look women's side. They smoked Aussie. The lads bounced back from a couple hard years too to kick off the comp with a win. You love to see it. Of course, that new format proving to be pretty entertaining as well. They're split up into 3 different divisions now, these Sevens teams. And in the top div, you got 8 men's and women's teams, and they compete at 6 global events. So we had Dubai last week. We have Cape Town this week, Singapore, Australia, Vancouver, and then also New York, which is cool to see. They get a tournament for the first time, which will really put the game on the big stage, but it makes for harder pool play, but also a more competitive tournament, less games. It's quality over quantity. Every game counts. Gives that real do or die feeling. And I found it an entertaining watch. There's no blowouts like 50-0 and things like that. Every game literally has something riding on it. And it was the men's team's first tournament win on the Sevens Tour since Singapore 2024. Friend of the show, Brady Rush, winning player of the tournament, scoring tries for fun, and just good to see us back playing with some razzle. We've got some speed as well, and you could tell the lads were up for this one. So that is a great way to kick things off. This tournament in South Africa, though, we are in a crazy pool. We've got the host South Africa, we've got Fiji, and we've got Great Britain. So damn, that is cutthroat. Shout out to the women's side. They snapped Aussie's crazy winning streak in Dubai too. I didn't realise, but that's the first time the Aussie women's team hasn't won that Dubai comp since 2019. They'd won 5 titles there in a row. They've gone 32 games unbeaten in that tournament. You just love to see this, man. And our Black Ferns 15 girls had a massive impact on this team. Georgia Miller, of course, superstar, insane. She's been carving up the Sevens circuit for a while now, but we have Braxton Sorensen McGee playing in her first tournament, Caitlin Vahakolo returning to the side too, and they just brought a different level of strike and X factor, and this team just looks unreal. It was funny, before the tournament, right, I saw their captain and coach basically come out and say, new look team, don't know what to expect, so bear with us if results aren't what they are usually, but then they just come out and blitz everyone. You love to see it. This week, they are in a pool with Fiji, the USA, and Great Britain, so that'll be an interesting watch. I think the USA actually beat our women in pool play last week, so they'll want redemption for that loss as well. Get up those 2 teams. Not a whole lot of rugby union news, to be honest. I mentioned that Zac Lomax thing before with the Western Force, but yeah, World Cup draw, probably the big talking point, and I can't talk about it, so I'll talk more on it in next week's pod, but fingers crossed for the ABs. We get a good draw. Hopefully England gets stitched up. Hopefully Aussie gets stitched up. Shit, that would make me happy. Alright, bit of punting and weekly wrap chat. Plenty going on in the sporting world, of course. Formula 1, geez, right down to the wire. And I do have to admit, like, last couple of years I've really got invested in Formula 1, and it's off the back of Drive to Survive. I think most Formula 1 fans, majority, are pretty newish. I reckon like maybe 60-70% of Formula 1 fans are off the back of Drive to Survive too, but shit has this season been elite, right down to the wire. Of course, Max Verstappen got the win last weekend, and now he's hot on Lando's heels. So basically, in order to win it this weekend, in order for Max to take it out, he needs to win, and he needs Lando not to podium. McLaren, They fucked that race last week. Oscar Piastri should have won it, and that would have made things so much easier for Lando as well. I really don't want Max to get it again. This would be his 5th straight title, and it's not that I don't like the bloke. He's actually grown on me a shit ton, but I think any time in sport, when you have someone, a team or a person that dominant, it's nice to see a bit of change, and I think Lando deserves to take it out. So fingers crossed he can at least podium, and that would lock up the driver championship for him. McLaren, they have pissed it in terms of the Constructor Series, but yeah, this one's going to go right down to the wire, and you best believe I'll be watching this 2 a.m. I think it is. So it'll be an early start, but this is bums on seats stuff, of course. Great news for the Kiwi driver in the mix too, Liam Lawson, off the back of coming 9th last weekend and scoring points. He's been locked in at Racing Bulls for the 2026 Formula 1 season, which is massive, really. Congrats to the lad. There has been so much chat throughout the year around whether he would keep his seat or whether he would lose it. Great news for Kiwi racing and just for Liam Lawson in general. He cops a lot of shit. People either love him or hate him, but being a Kiwi, of course, we love him, and it's cool to see he'll have a new teammate next year as well. 18-year-old Arvid Lambold. He will make his Formula 1 debut with the Racing Bulls. Of course, Isaac Hadjar, he's been promoted to the senior team, Red Bull, and Yuki Tsunoda. Unlucky else, he has been cut. He is now that standby reserve driver, so he's not fully gone, but a bit of a blow to the career of Yuki. There was some rumours that he might be doing IndyCar with Honda, so keep an eye out for that too. But well done to our lad, Liam Lawson, for locking down his seat. Such a competitive sport, man, and there's literally, 20 drivers on the Formula 1 grid. I think there'll be 22 next year with the introduction of the 2 new teams, but man, it is so cutthroat. There's drivers all around the world gunning for your spot, and if you don't perform for multiple weeks in a row, they will cut you quicker than they signed you up. So well done to our boy Liam. Great stuff to see. In terms of the Ashes and the New Zealand cricket tests, I'm actually watching the Black Caps as we record this live now on our Wednesday, all out for 231. The lads put up a decent score, I guess. Most failed to do any damage with the Rimu. Luckily for us, Captain Kane was back and he top scored with 52. Michael Bracewell with 47 as well. Pretty tricky Hagley Oval pitch, and I think that's testament in how the West Indies have started as well. At time of recording, they are 27 for 2. Matty Henry with a wicket and Foulkes with a wicket. I think he picked up his wicket on his first ball of the day too, so you love to see that. Surely we get the dub here. New Zealand conditions up against the West Indies. This is Test Championship points on the line too, so it will be a big dub for our lads. It'll be good to see us get the brooms out and sweep them. Of course, the main event this week though, in terms of your Test match cricket, still has to be the Ashes. Gets underway Thursday, so today when you're listening, Test 2 in Brisbane. For the Aussies, no Usman Khawaja. He's been playing too much golf, strained his back, so he has been ruled out. It's a pink ball test as well, and the weather is looking hissing. I think 28 to 31 degrees those temperatures range from across the 5 days. I love that it's a cheeky little day-nighter too. Makes for great viewing. That ball, that pitch in Brisbane, it is going to swing a shit ton. The humidity, and it's green as fuck, the pitch. So I'm expecting it to be carnage for batters, even more so than the first test was. So I certainly don't think this one will last 5 days. England have already come out and said they're not going to change the way they play. I think Aussie will try be a little more conservative than they were. Of course, saved by the bell by Travis Head. But Aussie $1.50 favourites to take a 2-0 lead. England 285 to level it up. In terms of your player options, Stark and Boland, they are the bowlers I like for most wickets for Australia, and there's actually a cheeky little power play for those two to each take 5+ wickets across the 2 innings. That's paying $3. It really is a seamer's pitch. I expect them to do plenty with the ball and skittle some stumps, so I love that little power play. There's a whole bunch of options for you to get on, so go check out the TAB app if you're keen to have a punt on some Ashes action, just to make the second test even more spicy. There's already great yarn and narrative though, both fan bases going at each other, ex-stars going at each other on podcasts and TV and whatnot. I reckon this one is going to have plenty of feeling in it, as the first test did. In terms of your NBA action, over in the East, we've got the Pistons who continue to punch above their weight. The Knicks are on a nice 4-game winning streak. week. The Raptors are in third at the moment, Heat in fourth with that crazy offense. I think it's their least amount of pick and rolls ever in an NBA offense, and they're sitting in fourth. That Memphis Grizzlies offensive coach has come across, and it's working wonders for them. It's really sped them up, and they are scoring at a crazy rate. Norm Powell has been elite. Tyler Hero looking good back. Bam back from injury too. So the Heat doing great things under that master coach in Eric Spoelstra. But yeah, Pistons top, Knicks second, Raptors third. Well done to the Raptors, man. I don't think anyone saw that coming. They look like a connected team. They celebrate their wins, and they got a nice little young core there as well. Over in the West, of course, it's the Lake Show, baby. Unfortunately, had a loss on your Tuesday, but apart from that, they've been on a nice little 7-game winning streak prior. Luka and Austin Reeves, they're the leading point-scoring duo in the NBA. They've been playing insane. LeBron, he's been good coming back, although he did struggle against the Phoenix Suns. Great to see he kept his 10-point scoring streak alive, though. It's almost 1,300 games now since LeBron scored under double-digit points in an NBA game. That is crazy. I think the second highest is Michael Jordan with 800 and something consecutive games, so surely that is a record that will never be broken 100%. But Lake Show going decent. Hopefully they can bounce back from that loss against the Suns. It's the Thunder, though, in the West. And look, it might be boring. Everyone's sucking them off. But how can you not? They're on a 12-game winning streak, a 20-1 record so far this year. It is mental, man. They haven't had Jalen Williams for 99% of this season. People forget he's an all-star. So he's only going to make this team better as well. He's only played 2 games all year, but still they are performing at this level. They are crazy. And when you think about it too, the fact they have the Clippers and the Jazz's picks next year as a result of that SGA Paul George trade still to come. Like, this team is already freakish. There's a genuinely good chance that at least one of those 2 picks are a top 3 pick. They're going to have 3 first-round draft picks in next year's draft, which by all accounts, there is some insane talent that is available. So this team is only going to get better, and they're already on pace for 75-plus wins this season. And that is mental. They are forming a dynasty for sure. The Rockets are in third. They're looking great. Good to see Steven Adams blocking shots, posterizing people. He's been bloody important for this Houston team, which, big. They play big, man, and they can score points. They can defend. Their offensive rebounding is crazy. And then the Nuggets are in fourth. Good to see the Spurs doing all right without Wemby, too. 6-4 in their last 10 games without a true freak of a player. Holding on to 5th spot ahead of the T-Wolves just. But yeah, I think they'd be pretty happy with that. Once they get that bloke back, then geez, the world's their oyster for sure. Shout out as well to Joker. I glossed over it there before when mentioning the Nuggets, but like, he is carrying my fantasy team. MVP 100%. Love that bloke at the moment. The games I like today and some head-to-head bets. I like the Nuggets to beat the Pacers. Joker triple-double, surely, if it's not a blowout. Spurs Magic, that'll be a great game. Magic actually playing some really good basketball as of late, and that's an interesting thing to watch. No Paolo Banchero at the moment, but they have been playing unreal. Desmond Bane has really hit his straps. Jalen Suggs, my balls, he is also back and looking fiery. I like Anthony Black too, so yeah, they're a good team. They were expected to be good, had a slow start to the year, but now they're really starting to get into their work. I like the Hawks to beat the hopeless Clippers in Atlanta. Speaking of the Clippers, I think it was Tuesday's game. 32-2 point run during that game. That is just insane. The Clippers, they suck, man. And I saw Kawhi saying that they need to get more talent on that roster. Well, brother, you're a superstar, man. Maybe you need to step up and play some half-decent basketball too, or just be available to play. That would be a great start. I like the Knicks to beat the Hornets. I like the Bulls to beat the Nets. I like the Rockets to beat the Kings. And I like the Heat to beat the Mavs. Interesting one to watch too. Bucks versus Pistons game. Some real chat now about Giannis potentially looking to be traded after the Bucks lost to the Wizards on Tuesday. Just the Wizards' 3rd win of the season. You should not be losing to that Washington team. And if this could be true, then, man, I'd be really keen to see how that plays out, because teams will throw some crazy assets at a player like him. Be sick to watch it all go down. I'd just love to see the haul that the Bucks would get and where a player like Giannis would end up, because no doubt majority of teams would be in to try and win him if they're in a position to do so. So keep an eye out on the movements of the Greek Freak. In terms of the NFL, that crazy season continues, man. Thanksgiving footy was elite too. Certainly ticked all the boxes for me over the weekend. That Friday slate, second to none. And when you look at the top of the NFL ladder, I think it sums it up perfectly for me this year. Broncos and Pats, top of the AFC. Broncos on a 9-game winning streak. Patriots on a 10-game winning streak after dusting up the Giants. That is mental. KC in 10th in the AFC. That's almost unthinkable. Then in the NFC, you have the Bears on top, 5-game winning streak. Rams in second. The last time the Bears won a playoff game was in 2011. Their last divisional title was 2018. If they can beat out the Packers and the Lions for the NFC North, then that would be a massive upset right there. I'd love to know what that was paying at the start of the year. But round 14 this week, 5 more rounds before playoff football. We're into the business end of the year now. Some big games Friday. You got the Cowboys up against the Lions. That should be a goodie. Cowboys are now on a 3-game winning streak. Detroit, they lost last week, so they'll be looking to bounce back. Detroit at home, so I'll back them in, but I do think it'll be close. On Monday, you got the Bengals up against the Bills. I'll back Buffalo there. They're the home side, and yes, Joey Burrows is back, but look, they just can't block for the poor blokes. I'll back them. And Ravens, Steelers, massive divisional game there. Both teams with a 6-6 record. It's in Baltimore, so I'll back Lamar, but that is going to be a great game to watch for sure. Packers, Bears, that'll be a goodie. Chiefs, Texans, Colts, Jags, the other picks of the week for me, with the Browns hopefully in line for our 4th win of the season. Fingers crossed. We're up against a team with the worst record in the league in the Titans. No one's going to remember these Titans, that's for sure. We're $1.48 favourites, which makes me bloody nervous. But let's hope the lads can get a much-needed dub up the mighty Browns. And the A-League, AFC, went down with a loss, 2-1, our first L of the season on a wet arvo at Mount Smart. A disappointing result, 2-1 to an average Newcastle team. Not a loss I expected to happen, to be honest, but this week we bounced back. Derby game, expecting a big crowd. Fortress, 5 p.m, sun's going to be out. People need to get there if you're not coming to the Bowls Day. That's your only excuse. Bums on seats required. Surely we beat Wellington. We simply don't lose to the Phoenix. 3rd versus 6th. Wellington with a good 2-0 win over Adelaide last weekend, but I'm backing us to get the dub here. AFC, $1.52 favourites. Phoenix at $5.80. That is pretty crazy odds, but we just don't lose to those guys. Even with 9 lads on the paddock, we proved it last time, we still hand Wellington L's. So let's hope that history remains true here and we can pump those losers from down in the capital. Heartbreak for the Tall Blacks in their World Cup qualifier earlier in the week as well, going down to Aussie with a buzzer beater 3, a tin-ass 1-2 to cop the loss 79-77. Had a 10-point lead heading into the final quarter and unfortunately a bit of a choke job, but shit, we're looking pretty good, eh? This Tall Blacks team is decent, so hopefully we can qualify. In golf, Aussie PGA, shout out to Dan Hilliard, Nick Voke, both went well last week. This week though, Aussie Open gets underway today in Melbourne. Great to see Rory McIlroy here, which is huge for the game down under. He goes in as your $5.50 betting favourite. Aussie local Minwoo Lee at $13, Mark Leishman at 15s, Adam Scott at 17s. And then you get into the Kiwis. Dan Hilliard, 26s, Ryan Fox, 29s. I like them both on my top 10 bets in your multis. Hilliard, top 10, $3. Foxy, top 10, $3.50. Lock them in. So still plenty of great sport to have a Carmichael punt on. Of course, that Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua fight approaching as well. You can still get good odds on Anthony Joshua for a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round knockout, which I highly recommend. But good luck on the Carmichael punt this weekend. And I'll bring back some bonus cash codes for next week, eh? Let's run back the podcast code then. Treat all of ya, because I know I got sprayed in the DMs last week for not having one. So next week, we'll run it back. Right, that's us for another week on the pod. Remember to comment on either the Spotify episode or the YouTube episode to go in the draw to win double passes to Chasing the Fox, GA tickets. Get around that. You just got to comment what team you think will win Chasing the Fox or who you want to win. Basically, whoever you're backing, and I will randomly pick a couple commenters. I'll chuck all your names into a random generator, and then we'll pick out winners from there, so get amongst that. Bowls Day this weekend. Can't wait. Keen to get amongst that one. Loads of sport to tuck the teeth into and invest in on the TAB as well. So go well, have a good one. How good?